You think Common Ground is worth a buck? Consider leaving a tip at lptv.org. Lakeland Public Television presents Common Ground, brought to you by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.
Welcome to this next edition of Common Ground. I'm with Norm in his 1927 Model T.
I'll take you on some roads here, and we won't go 100 miles, but you'll think we did. So hopefully that you'll enjoy it. There's some pretty colors a little bit. I started in Model Ts in about 1958. I found a radiator cap in a bucket of scrap metal, and it would be this radiator cap right here behind the flags. Can't see it very well, but this is an original cap. It's an accessory, and I found this 5-gallon bucket of scrap metal, and this is in the bottom of it, and that's what I built the whole car then from that. So that was when the disease started.
Here a minute, Norm. I'm thinking.
You want me to start right from here, or do you want me to back up a bit? My name is Norm, and this is my hobby. This is not a business with me, it's a hobby. And I retired. I've been retired for 7 years, and I was an electrician. And I got into this, and it's been fun. It's frustrating some days, but it's a lot of fun too. So, and I met a lot of great people. I've got people that I know all over the world. So, would you call me eccentric? Some would. Some would call me totally crazy, but that's fine. I'm me. This is a 1914 that I'm working on, and this is the last year of this flat wooden dash, and it's also the first year of the round bottom door for a Model T, and this is the first year they came in black. With the moving assembly line in 1913, and this is the first started mass production cars, and by 1927 he had made 15 million, and they made spare replacement engines until 1941, and in 1941 they made one Model T engine at the Ford factory. I don't know which one, but they did. Of course, somebody might say I'm full of baloney too, but I could be. Very possible.
How do you feel about him as a person? Does that ever cross your mind?
Thank God he made a Model T, because there'd be a lot of us running around this country that would be loonier than we are. We have to, what it has done, it has brought us together. It put the world on wheels that the ordinary person couldn't afford the big fancy cars in the old days. And he made it possible for the working class to have cars, and then that started a whole big mess. Thinks he had a few bad points, and I think a lot of these people that are that way do have their good and bad sides. Trust me, I watch the soaps once in a while. I think about how he dreamt up, or him and his crew of engineers dreamt up how to do all this stuff. And I mean, he wasn't the only one, but I mean, you think of the technology that they developed back in those days, and then compared to today. I think they did pretty darn good. And this one here's a 27. It has some accessories on it. The wind wings are accessories that were available after, you know, aftermarket parts. The dash light is an accessory. And then as I mentioned earlier, I put a 2-speed rear end in here, and that's a shifter for it. That's called a Ruxtal. And then I have accessory brakes, Rocky Mountain brakes on here, which are supposed to, when you put a 2-speed rear end in, they recommend you put another style of brake, because if you don't get it shifted into gear, you don't have any brakes. It looks almost like a Model A in a lot of ways. The wire wheels on here are standard. They're Model T, and they came out in 26 as an option. 27, they're standard. And if you ordered the car without the electric start package, you had different wheels. You could get, it's just like buying a car nowadays. You have to buy all these things to make it roll down the road. You have to have a motor, and you have to have your stuff. This does not have a GPS in it. It doesn't have that emergency backup beeper that when you go to back up, it's just, you just turn around and holler, get the heck out of the way. And this doesn't have windows. It has what they call side curtains, which I don't have for this car. I have it for one of my other ones, but you put them on, and that's supposed to help keep the cold and the weather out. And I would imagine they did keep a certain amount of it out, but you still got wet and still got cold, because they don't have heaters. They don't have, a Model T doesn't have an oil pump. It doesn't have a water pump. So it splashes the oil and it boils to make the water circulate. This is the last year they made the Model T, and it came out in colors. The open cars were colored, and the closed cars had colors. And in 1926, the open cars were all black, and the closed cars, being the sedans and coupes, they had color. And this is an original color. It's what they call French gray, and it has vermilion wheels. And if I was to paint this any other color, it wouldn't be the same car. It would just be awful. It's not the fastest thing in the world. It doesn't ride like a new car, but it doesn't ride bad. You mind how far we go?
I don't mind how far you go. Go as far or as short as you want to go, whichever you feel led.
You can imagine going very far in one of these years ago when there weren't any good roads. These roads are beautiful compared to what they used to be. And then I don't think people went out as much as, well, I know they didn't go out as much as they do now, because that's too much. They didn't need to go run to the store every 5 minutes. They bought stuff once a month or so, and that was it.
Tell me what it's like going on a long trip in this car.
Long. Very long. The longest I ever drove this car in one time was 13 hours. And at the end of the 13 hours, I was 300 miles away and very tired. So, I mean, you can go faster, but it'll only go so fast, and then it starts to come apart. Get off. We'll go down this, and then we'll get off there. We got this road and one more road that's blacktop, and then we'll get on dirt.
Okay.
When I first moved out here, this road was still dirt. But the dirt roads are disappearing from a lot of areas, so I don't always stay on my own side of the road. I figure I pay for it, so I might as well use all of it.
I can understand that logic. Because for me, I like the other side of the road better.
Yeah, I know. I think they used to do that over here, but I don't think they drove on that side of the road. But The early cars, some of them have the steering wheel on that side. You gotta make noise once in a while.
Good, I like that.
That's one of those whistles I showed you. Come on, Nancy, don't let up.
What was that knob you just tweaked with there?
Huh?
What was that you were just tweaking with there?
Here, that's the carburetor control.
Oh, okay.
And this is your gas. Doesn't have a foot feed. This is your gas. And this controls your timing, this other lever. It doesn't have a distributor. It has what they call a timer that works like a distributor, but it's not a distributor. And instead of having one coil, it has four, one for each cylinder. And this is very important here because I watch continually in that mirror to make sure nobody's going to hit us. We'll turn off on this, and this goes to a dirt road, so.
Now we're on the authentic kind of road, right?
We're coming to water pretty soon here.
It's beautiful fall weather, Norm.
Yes. It's beautiful out today. Couldn't ask for a better day.
You can't beat it.
This is my form of relaxation. I would come home after work in a long, stressful day, and I'd say to my wife, "Let's go for a ride." So we did. Well, then when we had kids, then we had to take them with us too, and they enjoyed it.
I don't guess you very often said no, huh?
No, very seldom. If the car was in the garage and I started it up and she could hear it running, she was out there ready to go for a ride, so, which was fine. We did a lot of this together. Almost 35 years of doing this, so I miss her. There's hardly a road around here that her and I didn't drive on, and it didn't seem to matter what the weather was. It was still fun, so.
My name is Celia Littlecreek. I'm a native of Red Lake. My mother is a very artistic person, and I think that's where my inclinations come from, as I think it's kind of genetic. I like to recycle my clay the same day that it turns out not to be what I wanted it to be, because otherwise you have to throw it in a bucket and let it all dry out, crumble it up, add water, wedge it all over again. This way I just take my scraps from the day and wedge it up. It's ready to go. Like I say, I have a big studio downstairs and I have a huge wedging table, but this is just a piece of drywall. Just put some good old duct tape, all-purpose tape on the edges so you don't get plaster in your clay. Need a little more clay here. I'll wedge it up again. Get it nice cone shape. When I first learned how to wedge, I did something that's called a monkey's head, and this is how I learned how to do it, and you can see why it's called a monkey's head. I thought that was pretty cool when I learned it, but now everybody says you should wedge in a spiral, and I don't know what the big difference is. But what I'm doing now is pushing clay, pushing air out from the middle of the clay to the outside. This is a job I wish I had somebody else to do for me. It's hard on your wrists, especially if you have arthritis. This is another kind of pottery, and you might call this hand building, or you could call it making a vessel with a slump mold. If I wanted to put something on the outside of this pot, for example, I wanted something to be the shape of this lip, I could take my clay and put it over that shape, and when it hardens, it would be that shape. What I'm going to do, though, is called a slump mold, and what I'm going to do is build inside this pot, so it's the reverse. And this is a way to make a pot if you want something with texture instead of those nice smooth walls. You just use anything that you can find, and you put it inside a leather hard mold and squish it so it sticks to the side of the pot. And you can use stamps, or you can use, these are stamps that I made out of clay, and then I fired them, I carved them, and you just lay it inside the pot and attach it to the other piece of clay, and you keep doing that until it's all done. And then through the magic of television, in 3 or 4 days when that's dried, this is one I did before, of course, and I threw a top on top of the part that I built inside the mold. You just take a hammer and you break out the outside of your mold, and there you have something with texture that you can't get by throwing on the wheel. Now this is ready for a bisque fire. And this is something that anybody can do. Even, I suppose, instead of throwing a pot with clay, I suppose you could even make paper mache and burn it off when it was done, or peel it off after your clay inside dried. So you may not even have to have somebody that can throw a pot for you. But it's a fun thing because you get all of these really cool designs there that you can't get on the wheel. It's just impossible, and it doesn't have to be all covered up. There's even negative space. I love that. This is one of my favorite techniques I learned at a workshop. And then not all of your pottery is the same. It's not all smooth, or doesn't look like it's something that anybody can do. Looks really special, like there's never going to be another one like it. And of course, all of this goes back in the recycle bucket. Now on to, this is not really my favorite part, is glazing, because I never can make up my mind on what I want the pot to look like. I have at my fingertips glazes already made up that I buy from different places. My favorite place for everything is Continental Clay. If you have any question there, they answer it. Now we are going to go look for a fern or a weed or something that we can use that's going to give us a resist pattern on the pottery. And usually find those where it's been a little wet, So my favorite place is over here towards the lake, and I usually find really good ferns over here down by the creek. And this is my favorite view of Red Lake. It is the most fabulous view at sunset. I hope there's some good weeds over here. We don't want too many weeds or too many resist patterns, because then the pot just gets black. Okay, in the weeds over here, I see something that might work. A little bit of these, maybe. A couple of these spiky leaves. I like the bigger ones best. And a little bit wetter, I think. I'm getting down here. And maybe over here there's some more. Let's try over here. Oh, here we go. Here we go. These are perfect, just the right size in proportion to the pieces of pottery we're going to put them on. Nice and green. I'm sure that chlorophyll has something to do with the reaction of the ferric chloride that's on our pot. Okay, I think we're good. Look like little trees. All right, what we're going to do now is, this isn't really glazing a pot because this isn't glazed. This technique is called Naked Raku. And not only is it Naked Raku, it's called Ferric Chloride Naked Raku. And they call it Naked Raku because it doesn't use a glaze. What I've done is I've thrown a pot, and then I've brushed on a very fine layer of clay called terra sigillata, and it makes the entire pot white. And then I've whisked the pot to a pretty low temperature, and I've put on one layer of ferric chloride, and this is what it looks like. It's an etchant solution, and you do not want to get any on your hands. You don't want to breathe any of it. And when I fire this pot, I will also wear a vapor mask because it burns your lungs. And of course you don't use your really good brushes for this. I'm going to let it get kind of dry. Okay, I've got a couple good layers of PCB etchant solution. And I'm going to take some of these really cool ferns that we found over in the weed field, like that. Put that there. And I'm going to put a little bit of copper on this. Maybe stretch it out. Maybe another little fern. It's good to put them on the shoulder of the pot because it'll probably stay there. And we're going to take some horsehair, throw that on top. And I think maybe we'll do one more fern just because 3 is a better number than 2 in my mind today. Now, we're going to take aluminum foil and we're going to get it to hold down all of the stuff that we put on our pot. And we're going to wrap it totally around the pot. Now what's going to happen when this heats up, the aluminum foil is going to have a chemical reaction with the PC board etchant. I think we might be ready to unveil the ferric chloride raku, I think. We're going to use the tongs. I think it's going to be good. Aluminum foil, flakes right off. Oh, a nice rosy color here. Here's our fern. Here's where the horsehair left some marks. And this is our copper right there. And this is here's another piece of the copper. Look at the cool pattern it made there. Where it was stretched, it made some holes. And down here too. Pretty hot still. Very nice marks on that. This piece you might recognize as one that we hand built inside the slump mold. Turn it off. This piece I want to be multicolored, so I'm going to get it into the post-fire reduction chamber right away. And a little more paper. Okay, now we're going to starve it for oxygen. That's why it's called post-fire reduction. I don't like the cloudy part. I don't like it. Somebody else might, but I try to only keep things that I like in case nobody else wants to buy it. Then I'm happy with it hanging around in my living room. So I'm going to make it the way I like it, and we'll see if the torch works. Sometimes this helps. Oh yeah, I think that's an improvement. You can do this where it looks coppery, that gold color. Oh, nice.
Thanks so much for watching Common Ground. Join me again for the next episode. If you have an idea for a Common Ground piece that pertains to North Central Minnesota, email us at legacy@lptv.org or call us 218-333-3022. To view any episode of Common Ground online, visit us at lptv.org. To order individual segments or entire episodes of Common Ground, please call 218-333-3020. Common Ground is brought to you by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund with money from the vote of the people on the 4th of November, 2008.